Mel Albin. I'm the host and the founder of the Jazz Confusion
My
Power
name
Hour.
is Dion Parson, and I'm honored to share my passion of music with you, our listening audience, through my cultural heritage.
Things can change for you too. If you want to be brand new, that is absolutely possible.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Jazz Confusion Power Hour. I'm your host, Mel Albin, and I'm the founder of the Jazz Confusion Power Hour. The reason I wanted to start this show was because more and more artists in jazz, R&B, soul, rock, they were being crowded out by urban music and by the decline of FM broadcasting. And they didn't have a place where they can really hook up and let their audience and fan base understand how they go about creating the music everybody loves, and also how do they write a song. Everyone thinks a lot of artists just go up on stage and that's the end of it, but there's a long process to really winnow out those that are really good from those that want to do this kind of as a hobby, if anything else. So that's why I started it. So we've had over 200 artists on the Jazz Confusion Power Hour over the years. And I'll tell you a little bit about those artists in a few minutes. Let me tell you about the Source TV radio network on which this program resides. The Source TV radio network broadcasts 24/7, live streaming 4K and Dolby True HD, playing jazz and jazz crossover all day and all night. It's a nonprofit 501c3 radio station supporting jazz and Black and minority micro businesses that are too small to be on Shopify or Amazon. And we have a show called the Shop Black Enterprise Showcase. And a lot of these small home-based Black micro businesses can spend 10 minutes showing everybody what they produce in terms of products or services. And they can this way begin to build wealth and generational wealth within the family and the community. The Source TV radio network depends on listener contributions and donations, on sponsorships, and also on the artists that we support and that we try to promote globally. So any donation that you make to the Source TV radio network, first of all, is tax-free. Second of all, it supports jazz and jazz music and supports the artists that we bring to you every single week. So we depend on listener contributions and donations to cover our costs of broadcasting. Now, the Power Hour has had over 200 amazing guests, and we're getting probably closer to 250 now. A lot of the artists are really well known. I'll tell you some of their names, and a lot of them are musicians and vocalists, songwriters, and they are well known or becoming well known. Some of the artists that have been in the Power Hour include Eric Roberson, Mesa, Brian Culbertson, Smokey Robinson, Paul Brown, Raheem Devon, Niels Gipner, Reagan Whiteside, Samara Joy, Her, Alex Harris, Greg Adams, Eddie Levert, Tom Brown, Costello, Pieces of a Dream, Kamasi Washington, Kiko Matsui, Kim Scott, Sheryl Crow, Billy Ocean, Annie Lennox, Maria Antoinette, Jay Brown, Yulia Blake Aaron, Terry Wollman, Celine Johnson, Erin Stevenson, Dion Parson, Tammy McCann, Jeff Beck, Eric Burden, and Mickey Howard, just to name a few. So you get an idea of all the kind of artists we've had on, new and well known, and new and getting well known. Now tonight's no exception. Tonight we have a Louisiana prodigy behind simply using a different instrument, beyond simply using a different instrument to express his passion. What makes this generational handoff unique is the way he builds upon the soul and jazz foundation of his father. It takes his own music into unique rock and experimental territory. The New Orleans-based musician charts new smooth jazz territory to incorporate elements of progressive rock and jazz fusion. He grew up listening to jazz greats like Pat Metheny and Stanley Jordan while exploring the music of Quintin's classic R&B world via Charlie Wilson, the Gap Band, Michael Jackson, and Ronnie Laws. but also Peruvian hard alt rock virtuoso Charlie Parra, Aaron Marshall of the instrumental rock group Intervals, and Tashin Abbasi of the instrumental progressive metal band Animals versus Leaders. Prior to spending much of the time composing and recording in the studio, he has been showcasing quickly developed chops for New Orleans tourists and audiences since 2011. He just completed a concert at Seabreeze in Miami, Florida for the festival. And there's much to admire about this person's character, his music, his songwriting, and his talent. So without further ado, let me welcome my special guest for tonight, Lemek. Greetings.
What's going on, Mel? It's good to be here.
Good to have you here. I know we've tried this a couple of times and had a couple of false starts, for technical problems, but now we're good. So
it's all good, man. I'm finally here. Let's make this happen, man. I'm excited.
Definitely. Let me start off by the question I always ask artists who come on the show. What's cooking? What do you have going on stage in the recording studio? Any philanthropical work? What are you doing in 2026?
Yeah, so as you just mentioned, I literally just did Seabreeze Jazz Festival last weekend in Panama City, Florida. It was so much fun. I did that show with the TNR Collective, which is a group of 4 of us on the label, including myself, Adrian Crutchfield, Ryan Lavalette, and BK Jackson. And so that's a new package that we're going to be touring through the year. That was our first show. So we've got some footage out there for booking agents and promoters to take a look at to get some more dates on the board for that group. As far as else, I'm going to be performing with my father at the Brass City Jazz Festival at August 1st in 2026. And then to cap off the year, me, myself, BK Jackson, and Aaron Stevenson, we're going to be doing Daytona Jazz Festival in Daytona, Florida. So that's later in the year. But other than that, that's what I have. I'm working on getting some more dates on the books. But right now I'm focused on album number 3. So I just released my sophomore album last year titled Boundless. And I'm in the studio working on the next one, man. It's for 2027 release. So look out for that.
Fabulous.
That's exciting.
Fabulous. But you mentioned Erin Stevenson. I should have mentioned her name too. She's been on my show also.
You did. Yeah, that's what I
did. I did mention. Okay.
Yeah, you
did. I've known Erin for quite some time. So she's super talented.
That's it, man. She's just a sweetheart, man. She's a beautiful spirit, beautiful soul. We were both rising stars at Seabreeze 2 years ago, 2024, and just quick story, man. She came up to me right backstage and just gave me some awesome words of encouragement before I went out because that was my first big show. So, she's just a sweetheart, man. We love Erin.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Good. Look, I want people to understand your musical odyssey. How did you become Lemek? What was your early childhood like? I know you were born in Florida. The family moved when you were still a child to Louisiana. Your dad's been, a musician, for quite some time. So why don't you tell everybody about your first impressions as a child in New Orleans with an incredible music scene, your dad, your family? What kind of music did you listen to in your household? What were your early influences?
So, like you said, I was born in Wildwood, Florida, moved to Louisiana to take care of some family business, taking care of my grandfather, because he was elderly, needed some care. And through that whole time, my dad was pretty much the predominant, musician. That was the music I was listening to, was all his early records that he was producing, writing, recording in the house. So that's what the house was filled with, is just really my dad's music. He would bring in a lot of local talent from around the city, some that have gone on to be Grammy nominated now. Like I remember a keyboard player named Kyle Roussel. He would come to the house. Watch him play keyboards. Yeah, I've known him since I was young. And of course, growing up, I didn't really there wasn't like MP3 players readily accessible yet. So everything that I have, my whole music taste came from him. So, I'd listen to Michael Jackson's. I had the DVD with all the hits of the Michael Jackson's #1s I would listen to. I would listen to the Gap Band. I listened to the Rippingtons. He would have on all that kind of stuff.
Stevie Wonder, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Stevie, all of it, man. So, because he grew up in that era. He grew up funk. That's what he wanted to be, a funk player. So, by proxy, I would listen and learn from all of that growing up. But seeing the city, from that lens was very instrumental. He had a guitar player. His name was Ian Villafana, and he was instrumental in me he's like my first guitar teacher at a point. And I'm just sitting there as a child, like 4 or 5 years old, just a sponge, just soaking it all in. And as far as going out in the city and seeing that stuff, I was too young for that. Because if anybody's been to New Orleans, you know that at night when all the music's coming, that's no place for kids. So I couldn't tell you from that age how it was, but definitely later it was a huge insight to the level of caliber of musicians that we have down here. You got to be able to play.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'll tell you just a quick story. When I was 18, I went with some of my friends. We were living in New York. We wanted to go down to the back roads of Louisiana, some of the back roads of South Carolina, to see some of the juke joints we'd heard about.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I heard this incredible piano player, Professor Longhair,
Hmm.
and you know who Professor Longhair is,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I know. Yeah.
And yeah, and he invited us to come to New Orleans. It was my first French Quarter Festival when he
Oh,
invited us
wow.
to be his
Yeah.
guest. Because we were the only white dudes,
Uh-huh.
at the juke joint.
Yeah,
Everybody
yeah.
was
It's like,
everybody was
oh,
looking at everyone was looking at us like, "What's wrong with you guy? What are you
yeah,
doing
yeah.
here?"
What you doing here, man? Nah, dude, that's awesome.
That was my introduction to New Orleans music through Professor
Mhm.
Longhair.
Oh,
And
dude, that's awesome, man.
yeah, he
That's a
was
great
he was
story.
playing Tippy Tina and all his great
Hmm.
songs. So
Hmm.
anyway, let's get back to you and let's talk a little bit more about did you participate as a musician in church or anything like that, or in public school bands or anything?
Oh, man. So, for one, I was actually homeschooled, wasn't formally enrolled in public school deals. My mom
Okay.
was, she's a tutor and she was a teacher, herself. So she's like, I'm teaching my own kid. I got that. So, but as far as that, I actually no, I didn't really get my first live experience until 2011. I played at my dad's record release party, and that was my first ever gig. Like, just at that point, I had just been a bedroom guitarist, just learning, practicing myself. And but that was the first time my dad was like, okay, you're kind of getting good enough. Like, I can take you somewhere to be, put you in front of an audience. And so eventually later on, I still kind of was like still bedroom guitarist. I didn't really do any live things until about 2017. My cousins down in New Orleans, they had a school or building. It was called the Neo Jazz School of Music. And what that was is they would have jam nights every like Wednesday night, and they needed a guitar player. And I was like, okay, well, I don't think I'm that good, but I'll come by and just hang out for a little bit. And I would go every Wednesday, and then that was where I really developed my skill set at, like getting chops, learning how to really play like a lot of jazz standards and R&B standards, as I like to call them as well. And that became a regular thing for me, and that's really where I cut my teeth. And eventually, that family band, we went by the name Yisrael, and there's a spot in New Orleans called the BMC, aka the Balcony Music Club, and we would play there. We started there Wednesday nights, and then eventually we got regular, and they started putting us on Friday nights. And right there, that's where Lemek was born. Like just playing clubs, start kicking around the city after that.
How'd you get to the guitar, or did the guitar get to you? How did it happen?
Oh man, it's definitely got to be a stroke of fate, one should say. But my so growing up, let's backtrack a bit. My we moved from Florida to here. In Florida, when I was 2 years old, my dad started me off on the drums. So I played drums first. That was the first ever instrument. And the thought and the logic behind that was like, well, if everybody needs a good drummer. So if you get a good drummer, you will always have work, because everybody wants to play all this other stuff, guitar, bass. Everybody wants to do that. We need good drummers. So he started me off with that. But we moved here to take care of my grandfather, and the house we moved into it's a little smaller than the house we were used to. But he needed his home recording studio. And so he was like, all right, this drum set, we gotta pack this up. All right, that's a wrap. This gotta go. I need my space. So packed this drum set up, put it in the attic. There went my drum career. But around 5 years old, a friend of his who I think he either worked or ran a pawn shop, he just shows up one day turns out it was my birthday, and he handed me an acoustic guitar.
Ah,
And from that day on, the rest is history. So, I remember I was, noodling around. I didn't know how to really play it. He kind of showed me a little bit because, of course, as a saxophone player, you play in a band, you know how a guitar is supposed to be
right.
played. But for the most part, I figured it out on my own. And, I just stuck with it. It was definitely love at first sight. And, eventually it got to the point, this was a few years later, he sat me down. I was like, okay, enough noodling around. Like, here, I want to show you somebody to listen to. Like, this is a master of the guitar. And he puts me down and he plays Stanley Jordan.
Oh,
And
okay.
so
Yeah.
that's where my influence from him comes from, because he sat me down and played, of course, his version of Michael Jackson's The Lady in My Life. And I'm sitting there as a 5-year-old, and I just got this guitar. I'm like, okay, how am I supposed to play that? Like, where do I start here? Like, you just start me on like level 10? Can we get to like level 1 through 9 first? Like, hello? Like, like, how are we supposed to do this, man? I ain't ready for this yet. And Stanley, anybody's ever listened to Stanley, he's like a master of tapping. He tunes his guitar to like fourths. There's nobody plays guitar on the planet like him. And you start a 5-year-old out on that. Like, come on, let's stop it here. But that was fun. It really stuck with me. And I didn't go that route, but eventually what he did is he had ordered a 4-track Tascam tape recorder. And I know I'm young, I'm only 26, but I do know what a cassette is. Probably one of the last of my generations to know what that is. And what I would do is I would plug up an electric guitar, because he since got me an electric guitar. I'll plug it direct, and 4 tracks, you put a cassette tape in there, and I would start writing songs. And at like 6, 7 years old, and I would just practice. I would learn how to like separate stems, and just really kind of develop those songwriting chops at an early age. And that's kind of where the whole guitar kind of took itself out from there.
Did he teach you to read music?
No, he didn't. He's tried, but it's kind of one of those deals where it's like I was just never patient enough to do that.
So you play by ear?
Yes, ear predominantly. Although I have taught myself to read a little bit in recent years, just not fully, but like I've got the gist basics down of it. But sight reading, no.
Okay. Just curious a little bit more about the guitar. When did you move from acoustic to electric?
Oh gosh, I remember when I asked for one. So this was around the first time I think I got like my first laptop as a kid. And then I found out what eBay was. So I had an acoustic guitar, and I was like, yeah, this is cool. But then I think I had saw like, some video of somebody that's playing electric. I was like, oh, I want one of those. So then I went to eBay and found one. And it was a black Squire Stratocaster for like the mini, like for kids. And I think couldn't have been more than like $120 or something like that. But I gave it to him. I was like, hey, can I have this? And I was like, for my birthday, I'll be extra good. I'll do chores or whatever. And eventually he just bought it. I think around, I couldn't have been older than 7. So anywhere between like 6 or 7 years old. That's when I got my first electric guitar. And I've stayed on that since.
It's funny when you talk about Stanley as one of your models for playing guitar. Mm-hmm. When I had Jeff Beck on, I asked him, how did you learn the complexity of the guitar? He said, I didn't learn it. He said, it told me what to do. When I heard certain sounds, I either didn't like them or I liked them. And he said, I emulated what the guitar told me to do. Mm-hmm. He said, I never created my sound. He said the guitar created my sound by me understanding its capability, its range, its sonic.
That is so true.
Yeah,
that is so true.
Yeah,
and I'll add to this, and he's absolutely right. Mainly because I talk about this with a lot of my instrument friends. No matter how much you like. You aspire to sound like somebody or you idolize somebody on that instrument, I guarantee you, if you were to pick up, say, if I was to pick up Jeff Beck's guitar, I would not sound like him at all. going through the exact same rig, his guitar tone, his guitar, the pedals, the amp, right into the interface. No matter what, I will not sound like him, simply because every last musician has a signature stamp that's unique to them. That so where they can only sound like them. And you, when you hear a guitarist and you can hear a instrumentalist, even no matter if it's just guitar or any instrument, they have a signature. That's their soul speaking through that instrument.
You know, it's
And
funny you mentioned this. You know, Miles Davis once was asked about, you know, how do you know which note to play? And he said, the note is only a signature. He said it's the artist that breathes life into the note.
yes, it
The
is.
note just tells you a space, a place. But he said how you understand that note, how long you hold it, you know, how you interpret it sonically. He said the artist is the note. The note is just something on the page to guide you.
Yes, that's all it is. It's your expression. Everybody has that breath of life in them, and music is just an expression of it, and it's always going to be unique to that person.
Yeah, it's like Stevie Wonder playing the harmonica. The way he bends notes is unique.
Yeah. You know it's him.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
There's millions of harmonica players, but you know it's Stevie. Somehow
exactly.
You know it's him. You play a record, you ain't even got to hear the rest of the track, the instrumentation. You just hear him. I was like, no, only Stevie plays like that.
Yeah. And he was doing this when he was 13 when he did Fingertips.
Yep. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that's genius for sure. Anyway, let's go on a little bit more. Let's start off. People I know want to hear your music. So before we get too far into the show and don't have time, let's play the song "Dance." Why don't you tell people the backstory on Dance?
So Dance is a collaboration between me and my best friend in the industry, Mr. Ryan Lavalette, who is a brilliant up-and-coming artist and producer in our genre. And one day he called me and he was coming up with some ideas like, hey man, I got this idea for a tune for your next album that I want to present. So he sent it over and instantly fell in love with it. And I was like, okay, man, I'm on the road right now, but as soon as I get to the studio, let's record it. And we went back and forth on some ideas for it. And this one it just came out so well. I was like, you know what, man, I want you to feature on this again, man. Because he did a tune for my first record. I was like, man, let's run it back. Let's do this again. So this is just a brilliant collaboration between friends, man.
Wonderful. So who's the feature on this now besides you?
Ryan Lavalette himself. So he produced it and featured on it. He's playing soprano saxophone.
Okay, well, here is Lemek's Dance, everybody.
Gotcha.
Wow, that is really cool. We got some comments coming in. Let me put some of these up here.
Yeah, sure.
Susan Rubenstein, love the groove. It's more like smooth soul that puts life back into smooth jazz.
Yeah, love that. Absolutely.
Okay, Levon Kennedy, great song. Lucinda Terrell, is this a single or on an LP?
Both. Currently single out to radio, so any local radio station should be playing it, and it's on my last album titled Boundless. You can find them both
Terrific.
and streaming everywhere.
Okay, Buddy Smith, great guitar work, bro.
Awesome. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that.
Yep,
Glad you
you got
enjoyed.
some people enjoying your music. That's wonderful.
Oh, that's what I do this for, man. I'm glad you guys all enjoy that. It means a lot.
Yeah. Well, let's go on and let's talk a little bit more. Well, we're about halfway through the show. We still have a lot of music to play.
Yeah.
What did you do after public school to keep building your music career? What came next?
So what came next? So graduated officially in 2017. Mainly, I think I should say the plan I had is I knew from like around 14 that music was going to be full time for me. That's just the only thing I wanted to do. You know, I could have did like the whole corporate career, you know, working regular jobs, but I was like, I knew from an early age, just like, nah, this is what I want to do pretty much for the rest of my life. I'm gonna figure out any way to make it work. So around 16, we were living in Atlanta for a brief stint, and I considered going to the Atlanta Institute for Music and Media, which is AIM. And I was I think I was considering going for music production, was really what I wanted to do. But mainly it was film scoring. But at this time, my dad gave me some pretty sage advice that would kind of change my trajectory on what it was. And he basically told me that at the time, he's like, listen, you've taught yourself the guitar. And at that time, I wasn't say I was the best, but I was pretty decent at it. And it's like, everything that you've taught yourself, you've done pretty much just by trial and error on YouTube. You going to Atlanta Institute or going to music school would pretty much just be you just putting yourself into a lot of debt for pretty much no reason, because anything they can teach you, you could teach yourself. And so go online, keep doing what you're doing. I'm here as a guidance for you, and let's just do it that way. And sure enough, as soon as I graduated, you know, from regular school, it was straight learned all my stuff at the jam sessions with my cousins. I got firsthand application of music experience. I got to network. And then sure enough, around 2019 to 2021, in that time frame, me and my dad, we actually worked on a first demo album. And of course, my dad, he's a producer already. He knows all that that realm. So that's when I kind of start to get into music producing officially, start, you know, producing, writing my own songs. And once that album got finished, he was like, well, all right, I can either put this out independently or shop this around to some people that actually may be able to take his career further than, say, for I can or independently. So he shopped that demo album around to a few different record labels. A few hit me back, but the main one that I ended up going with, and I'm still with to this day, is the record label Trippin' in Rhythm. And so they
Excuse me, what is that again?
Trippin' in Rhythm.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the record label I'm currently on. They signed me back in 2021, and I was the youngest artist, still am, on their roster. And they took a chance on me, man. And so they were like, look, they didn't want the album that I had at the time, but they was like, listen, the talent is undeniable. We want to work with him. Let's put him with some new producers, some people that we have on tap in the industry, and let's get a brand new album going. And so sure enough, they put me with a producer named Michael Broning, which he's worked with Paul McCartney. He's worked with George Benson. He's got a Grammy with him. And, you know, Mike was the first person that really believed in me, because, you know, as a label, if you've got all these successful artists and stuff like that, you've got a nobody from a small town in New Orleans. He's a young kid, like it's like, yeah, you can have faith, but there's always going to be a little bit of doubt there. But once I worked with Mike and he saw what I can do, he was so like gung ho about it. He was singing praises all the way to the label, and they were just so excited after them to work with me. So I got a shout out to Mike for that because he really went to bat. But after my getting out of homeschool, that was my journey, just building my career, networking, and eventually getting noticed.
When would you mark your first professional experience? Was it in the recording studio? Was it on stage?
I will say on stage, then the recording studio. I did one of my drummer friends who's known me since I was a kid, Nick Mercadale. He's worked with a lot of people. There was this gospel artist during COVID lockdown named Isabel Davis, and she wanted to do a COVID live stream. And eventually what that was is it turned out to be like a whole production. So I would go there and learn the music. We did all that stuff live and had it broadcast to a lot of people. And it's still up on YouTube to this day. And afterwards we would go into the studio and then we actually retrack everything and build it up, make this whole production. So that was kind of like my first brief stint, like brief here into like how it is to like do a lot of production work in the music genre and working with like an actual bona fide artists, like people that know. So I'd probably say that was it. But then of course getting signed to a label and actually doing an album, that would be
Wonderful. Okay, I just want people to know more about, when you would mark your professional career and what kinds of transitions you've been making over time. Let's talk about songwriting a little bit so we give people an idea about that. Everybody does songwriting differently. Can you describe your style? Do you start with, lyrics? Do you start with a melody or a harmony? Or how do you go about it?
So being an instrumentalist, very rarely would it ever start with lyrics for me, but that's not to say it hasn't happened before. I've written lyrics for a tune actually on my last album that really came just really came to me and spoke to my spirit. But for the most part, the song actually can be written in many different ways. More than likely it's going to be a melody, something that I hear where I'm out for a walk, or just something that comes to me while I'm driving. I jot down and then I build the song around. But other times it doesn't always come out like that. Sometimes I'm like, okay, let me be intentional and actually try to write a song, in which case sometimes I'll start with drums, I'll start with a groove and then write a melody around that groove, you see. So either melody or rhythm are the two basic ones, but usually what happens is that I'm somewhere and I just come up with a melody, and it's just something that's like, okay, I sing it, then I transcribe it on my guitar, then record it, and then figure out the chords around that melody, try different things out, and then build the production from there. That's usually how it goes. But it just depends, it's however I'm feeling.
Do you have a go-to person that once you get something, in its rough format, that you send it to and, say, what do you think? Or what's your first checkpoint?
So that kind of depends. I have a lot of people for that. First of all is my A&R guy, Jeff Lunt, and he's the one who approves all of the music for everybody on the label. So whether I'm coming up with a song, he's the first checkpoint regardless. But more than likely, if it's like I think this is a great idea and I want to explore it fully, like make a full song, I'll probably send it to either Ryan, which is, you just heard him, he's a great, phenomenal producer. I'll send it to what's formerly Michael Broning, Chris Buck Dog Davis, those kinds of producers and artists. But regardless, before it gets to them, I'm doing it myself. So I'm making sure that I'm writing it out, getting the whole arrangement done, producing it to the best of my ability before I feel like, okay, either I can't explore the song and get it to where at the final destination where it needs to be, so I need somebody else to produce it, or if I can do it and I know this song is within my scope of ability, then I'm going to just do it myself.
Well, who's that person you go to if you think you can't do it?
Oh yeah, definitely Ryan.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
Ryan
right.
for sure.
Good. I'm just curious.
Or Nicholas Cole. I'll throw him in there too. Nicholas Cole.
Okay. Do you do all the recording in your home studio, or where do you do your recording?
Right here. Yep.
Do you do it all home? Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
know you
wanted
guys
to
can't
know.
see it, but there's a whole desk sitting in front of me. This is where all the magic
Okay.
happens.
Which songwriter would you say has inspired you the most?
Oh man, Michael Jackson, easily.
Okay.
Easily. I mean, he was the first artist that I looked to and I was inspired by, especially like during the YouTube days when all the Vivo music videos came out. Growing up watching that on laptop, I would watch that for hours, and that's just there's nobody like Mike. So if I had to say another person, as far as songwriting, huge influence on me, I would say, is Aaron Marshall from the band Intervals, which is a huge influence on me. He's more in the progressive rock space, but I love his approach to harmony and melody in his music. That's always been something that is big for me, because like even with music that may not be everybody's cup of tea, I can always pinpoint something in there that speaks to me. Phenomenal songwriter for me, and I just love his music. And I probably throw Prince in there as well.
The two I had in my mind was Prince and Stevie.
Yeah, Prince. Stevie too. I'll throw him in there as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Prince was amazing. As you know, his first album he released, he played all the instruments.
Yeah, he played 52 instruments, I believe.
Yeah.
Either 47 or 52.
He was the musical genius of his era, bar none.
No, there's nobody else like him.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they did a special to George Harrison and My Guitar Gently Weeps, and Jeff Lynne was in there, and also what's his name? And the Heartbreakers, Tom Petty. Tom Petty was in there, and George Harrison's son was in there playing acoustic guitar, and Prince did a solo.
Yeah,
and I remember listening to it. Was amazing. And then I was sitting with a guitar player at the time when I watched it for the first time, and he said, "You're not going to believe this." He said, "That's not Prince's guitar. Something went wrong." He said, "That's a $99 guitar that he just made that sound with."
Really?
Yeah, because he
I
threw it
didn't
into
know
the
that.
audience. He threw it into the audience, and the guy sitting next to me, Kevin, who was a great guitar player, he said, "I'm looking at that guitar. That's a $100 guitar. That's not his real guitar. That's not his usual guitar." And he did that incredible solo, and he got a sound out of that no one could ever imagine.
Nope. Nobody's like him, man.
Yeah,
He's 101. Genuinely 101.
Yep. Let's get to some more of your music. I want to play Paradise. Why don't you tell people a little bit about Paradise, and we'll spin it.
Oh, for sure. I'll preface this saying this is my mom's favorite tune on the album. So she was around when I was writing it, and this song, I wanted it to be my like dopamine hit for people. It's just a very happy and freeing song, and I was picturing myself as like, what do I want to name this tune? But it's like, what do I feel when I listen to this song? I feel like I'm in paradise. Like I'm gazing out in the ocean, just blue, it's clear, it's free, and it can really lift the world off your shoulders. And so that's what this song is meant to represent. I produced it, recorded, wrote it all myself. So you're hearing the truest form of my heart on this song.
Wonderful. Okay, this is Paradise by Lemek. That's great. That's wonderful. We got some more comments, but I can't put a lot of them up. We're running out of time.
Good.
Here's one. Clarence Miller, love your guitar work, unique, pleasing.
Thanks, Clarence, man. Thank you.
Rodney Baxter, love how you run the scales.
Appreciate it, Rodney. Thank you so much, man.
Okay, we got other ones. We'll have to just maybe catch up a few of them at the end of the show if we have time.
Sure.
Let me ask you a thought question. If you could collaborate or work with any artist, songwriter, musician, vocalist, who would that be from any time, any place in the world? Who would be number one on your bucket list?
That'd be a great that's a great question, man. I'll keep it short and brief. Definitely Michael Jackson, definitely Prince, for sure. Those two have since moved on to the next realm, but those two would definitely be my choice. But if I had to say current and living, definitely Bruno Mars.
Bruno Mars, okay.
Bruno Mars.
You like John Batiste?
I love him, yeah.
Yeah.
Nola native, yeah. Love John Batiste.
Yep. A couple
And
of
Trombone Shorty, all of them. Yeah.
A couple of my friends come from there. Winton.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And
Branford,
all
of them. Yeah.
Yep, Branford, all his brothers.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Okay, so let's before I play the next song, I'm just curious. Every artist evolves. You're doing your third album now, your third LP. How would you say your music has evolved since your first LP?
Oh goodness. Definitely more free. The first one was I loved the first one, man, because mainly it was my breakout. It had so many different styles and genres, or flavors, should I say, that contributed to the making of that. That's why it was so successful. The second one was more me, and the thing how that came because it was a more of a hodgepodge of everything that I'm into. So it's like you've heard disco pop. You've heard that the album has R&B on it. It's got, of course, jazz. It's got soul. It's got a lot of different tastes, and that's because that's all who I am. Those are my influences. So for the next one, how I'm going to evolve it is more so I want to expand upon that and really kind of go in that direction that I wasn't able to go with the previous one. And add a lot more different styles and try and incorporate that into the smooth jazz sound in a way that stays true to the roots, but definitely evolves it and push that boundary a little bit.
Have you done covers?
Not recorded. I do them live sometimes. Yeah.
How's your live show different from your recorded music?
It's different, but it's not too different because at the end of the day, my music is my identity. So I do predominantly do my music because that's what people come to see. However, my live shows definitely kicks it up a notch from what you may hear on the album. So, a lot of the times, recently I'm incorporating covers into the songs, but in a way that amplifies my own music, if that makes sense. Because I will be completely honest with you. Covers are kind of overdone in our genre. Everybody hears the same songs at every same jazz festival. So I'm like, how do we do this in a way that's fresh to where people don't get bored because every single act is doing the same tunes? You know what I mean?
Lemek, you're right about covers and smooth jazz for sure, but and they are always the same ones. But with your musical style, you can do one-off covers that nobody in smooth jazz does.
I do that.
I'm just curious why you really haven't pursued that because of your the way in which you play.
No, I listen. That's in the works. I just want to make sure that I'm not treading the same ground that's been done already. So I've done covers, and I'm not completely averse to doing them. It's just kind of like I want to make sure that it's unique and it's a way that people will remember me as the artist for doing them. I want to have intention behind it is my goal.
When I talk to the young artists and I put you in that category, one of the things I think one of the reasons it's important to do covers is people know that music and they don't forget it. So, obviously you don't want them to remember the artist. You want the cover artist. You want them to remember you.
Exactly.
Not the original, but they'll remember the artist and it draws lots of people. somebody, who like yourself composes all your music, but if they heard you do a Stevie Wonder
Mm-hmm.
or Michael
Luther
song,
Vandross. Yeah.
yeah, they'll remember the song.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they remember you as the artist, it can be,
Yeah.
a real magnet to bring in.
No, it is. It
Yeah.
certainly is. It's just making sure that it fits, fits the brand.
Let's play the next song because we're running out of time. I had so much more I wanted to talk to you about. I'll have to have you back on when you finish your next LP.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
let's play Sentimental, and then you can say a few words about it after we play it.
Cool.
Okay, this is Lemek's Sentimental. Wow, that's great. We don't
Yeah.
have time for a lot of comments, but here's one. This is
Oh,
the
that's
song of
awesome.
the evening. The percussion makes it rock.
Gotcha, man. Yeah, that's a good one, man. That tune's called "Sentimental." It's featuring my good friend, trumpet player, from Detroit, Michigan, Lynn Roundtree, and
Oh,
we,
oh, I,
yeah, you familiar with him?
yeah, I wanted to have Lynn on my show. I haven't had the chance to get him on yet.
Yeah, man, that's Lynn, man. He's killing it, man. Yeah, so that's who's on that horn.
Yeah, that's somebody asked who's on the horn. Yep.
Uh-huh.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, I can't believe how time is moving on.
Mhm.
So let me ask you a couple more questions, and then we'll get to the final song of the evening.
Cool.
Um, where do you see your music going in 5 to 10 years? How do you see it evolving? Do you think you'll stay within the smooth jazz idiom, or are you looking to break out of that? And what's in the
Um,
back of your mind?
whatever the future, I can't predict the future. But the plan I have is to evolve the genre because that's what I was brought in to do. When the label Trippin' and Rhythm signed me, they wanted a fresh young talent that can really evolve what smooth jazz has been for the last 20 years. Because it's been pretty stagnant. You'll ask anybody that's been around since the original 80s, when Grover Washington was doing it, when Kenny G came out, and then when all the Dave Kaz and Joe Allwright and all those iterations of the artist that's pushing those genres forward. And so for the last 20 years, it's been kind of the same, pretty much status quo. So they brought me in to really bring a new sound and a new energy to this format. And that's my plan. So I don't have any current plans to really permanently abandon the genre because that would be I love smooth jazz. I grew up listening to it and it will always be a part of my musical history. Um, I will, however, make friends in other genres and explore different ideas that may take me away from smooth jazz, but I will never leave fully.
Well, you and I talked, a little bit before the show started, and you mentioned Latin music.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yep. Love Latin music, electronic music, dance music. I love orchestra, classical, like all of those avenues. That's something I see myself exploring.
Terrific. You talked about Lynn Roundtree, who you collaborated with. Can you tell us a little bit about some of your musical collaborations and which one may have had a big impact on your career?
Oh man, going back to the story, definitely Michael Broning. Mainly because he had me. He took it. He vouched for me with the label. He kind of took me under his wing, taught me a lot, and really got me started in the musical production game. Um, then also I featured on his album with the label. I was doing some work for him. Then another one I'll definitely say is Ryan Lavalette. I mean, that guy is he's like my best friend. So I had him at the house before we went to Seabreeze together. So I know that's two artists, but I got to lump them in because they both mean a lot to me in different ways.
I don't know. I haven't listened to your. I listened to your second album. I have not listened to your first one fully. Do you
Mhm.
have any vocals on any of your albums?
Yes, I do. So, the only vocal I have is on my previous album, the one you listen, my second. It's a
Right.
tune called "In My Heart." And initially, I wanted a male vocalist, but the person that produces that tune was a guy out of Dallas named Antone Malbert. And I was looking for a range of vocalists because the way he had produced the song that I wrote, I actually wrote it as a blues tune at first. Like I wanted it to be a blues vibe, but he took it in more of an R&B soul vibe after I sent it to him. I was like, okay, this song, I love the direction you're headed. I didn't know it needed this. So I need a vocalist. And so he had a list and he presented to me this lady by the name of Ms. Jones, but she goes by just Ms. Singer. I believe she's from Dallas as well, and that's where she currently resides. And she absolutely killed that song. Like it's a beautiful song. I get so many compliments on it. And it's a really heartfelt song. I recommend every listener to go check it out. It's on the Boundless CD, and that's for people that old school love, for people that's like hand in hand. We're going through life together, and this we got.
Wonderful. We got to wrap this up. So I'm going to play Boundless, your last song, and then
All
we can
right,
come back and chat for a few minutes.
gotcha.
This is Lemek's song, Boundless.
Mhm.
Wow, that's great. We got a couple of comments. I'm just going to put up
Go.
two of them. Here's one. Oh, it's the same person actually. Kevin Robinson. Love your energy. Reminds me a bit of Neil's.
Oh, thanks, Kevin.
And here's Kevin, another one. Who's playing sax?
So on that tune, that's featuring Adrian Crutchfield, and he's sax player. He's the last sax player to play with Prince.
Yeah, I know him well.
Yeah,
Wonderful. That's terrific. Well, look, our time is up. We're really over time already. So why don't you tell everybody how they can reach you, your website, your social media, and how they can become a fan?
Absolutely. So first of all, thank you so much, Mel, for having me. For everybody, if you've enjoyed what you've heard here tonight, please go to my website. I actually have a brand new website that's up right now. It's called lemekmusic.com, Lemek music.com. Please follow me on Instagram at Lemek Music, and you can follow me on Facebook at Lemek-Artist, as well as YouTube, Lemek Official. You just type in Lemek, it should come up pretty much anywhere. Please stay tuned to my website. You can purchase signed autographed CDs as well as you can see my upcoming tour schedules. I've got to update it because we've had some gigs that passed, but any shows that I have coming up throughout the year, you can find there.
Wonderful. Okay, well, look, it's been a pleasure having you on. There's still so many more things I want to discuss with you. And, you know, when you finish your third album, I'm going to have you back on again and send me the tracks. I'll put it in the daily playlist.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for having me. This has been a blast. I love these interviews, and I can't wait to do this again with you, Mel.
Wonderful. If you want to hang around for a few minutes afterwards, we can chat.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, that was Lemek, and I'm so glad I had a chance to bring his music to you, because I think he has something fresh and really vibrant to offer, you know, in this music jazz genre, which, you know, he brings some new life to. So next week, we're going to have another great artist. And in fact, I want to introduce him to Lemek also. It's Michael Cates. I'm sorry, John Cates. He goes by John and Michael. Michael is a phenomenal jazz artist. And again, I think you'll really enjoy his music. He has a new song that just came out last week that's on the charts. And he has a new LP out also. So tune in next week again, and we'll bring you another show from the Jazz Confusion Power Hour. So with that, I'll say goodnight to everybody, and I'll see you all next week.
I'm Albin. I'm the host and the founder of the Jazz Confusion Power Hour.
My name is Parson, and I'm honored to share my passion of music with you, our listening audience, through my cultural heritage.
Things can change for you too. If you want to be brand new, that is absolutely possible.